Never before in all our history have these forces been so united against one candidate as they stand today. They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
The needs of working families and the middle class, not just the billionaire class. We know what's going on. We are paying attention.
Can't hear me. See what happens when I turn my audio off. That's what happens. Hang on. This is going to restart again. It's a Saturday for sure. Good morning. It's been quite an interesting morning. End of the corporate age, but the beginning of corporate censorship on independent media in a big way. It's not new. It's been happening, and certainly been happening to a lot larger entities. But now it's happening to us. It's probably been happening to us for a while. And I've just been denying it. It's like, oh, we're small and they wouldn't bother with us. And, you know, it's just people don't like me or don't like our content or they're not Bernie followers anymore. And that's not really what's going on here, because we've actually been growing our audience due to, when you interview this many candidates and do this many things, you grow an audience. And what I've seen is the numbers go up and down just like a battle. And it's not normal, and our views have just tanked, and that's not normal. And we know you guys are out there helping, but it's like the real thing. We've been talking about a war with mainstream media, a war against corporate-controlled media, a war to control the narrative in this battle for our survival. And now it's gotten really real for us because it's hitting us close to home. I mean, it's effectively silenced us. Candidates come on our shows and they get so few views, and YouTube has made it clear to everyone that they are going to not show things in search. We used to get most of our views from our videos being suggested, right? That doesn't happen anymore. YouTube has basically selectively chooses, we're not going to suggest your videos to anybody regardless of its relevancy to what they're looking for. They can do that. In the terms of service that we signed, they can do whatever the fuck they want. They suspended my personal account, John Ellis, on Google from ever using YouTube again because of a dispute, because I actually responded to them and called bullshit on one of their, on shutting down one of my channels. Back when we were competing with them then. It's gotten worse. Now we see mainstream media attacking Jimmy Dore and Lee Camp and other people directly. Just smearing them directly on national news. And that has a huge effect. And it's frightening that it's happening to us right now. The cover is a very famous photo we've seen of Nazi Germany during the time period when they were burning books, because that's what you did, right? This is the censorship of information, and we've been experiencing this censorship in America for a long time, right? But
it's
now,
just gotten bigger,
right? Yeah, and we got three other people here. I'm just going off on my soapbox. We got Laura and Markus and Joe with us here today, but. I want to run a clip first, and then we'll get into the conversation. Except I got this all fucked up over here. Hang on. Man. I didn't have this ready. Who else in chat? Good morning, everybody. Hi. You see, I made Joe... What, the usual?
No suspects.
I got to put Joe back on camera here. He's not on camera. For those of you who have not seen this show or don't know who we are, or somebody suggested to come by and watch our show today, not the best choice. This is our Saturday show where those of us who have worked really hard the rest of the week producing the other shows that we do kind of relax and talk about stuff. This is not the high-end Emmy Award-winning content that we produce on a regular basis. This is us. No, that's another series. You know what I mean. This is...
It was us before that was us.
Right. We were us before they were. Yes, that's exactly right. Boy, I didn't prepare this at all. Here. I gotta get
Well, you are hosting and producing at the same time, and that's, just an example of, how we roll.
That is true. And you know where I learned how to do this? To engineer and talk at the same time? A Christian church dude. 5-6 years ago, they were the kings of broadcasting. These guys basically setting up the gear for their big churches and doing live streams with multi-cameras, and they were hosting the stuff. And that's why I learned this one guy. I wrote him several times, but he realized that I wasn't a big churchgoer, and he didn't talk to me. But I watched a lot of his videos to learn how to be able to do both at the same time. And so thank you, church dude, for your nerdiness. Appreciate it. Anyway, my point here, and I'll show you everybody here. Worked real hard on this, except Joe's.
Wait.
Hang on. It's not going to work. Joe's band of brothers. Where's Joe? There's Joe. There he is. Hi, guys. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, everybody. I'm trying to move these things around, so I got too many screens. Too many fucking screens.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here, Laura and Marcus and Joe. I appreciate you joining us this morning.
You're very welcome.
We are going to talk about stuff that happened last week, but I have this long thing I want to do with this intro just to talk about stuff because the battle that we're dealing with is very real to me now, also because I deleted some important stuff because I was an idiot, and that was dumb. So I lost a lot of our footprint there, our digital footprint. Most of the newsrooms are gone. And that was an archive of content that I was very proud of. And it was a lot of people that made those happen. And so I apologize to everybody that those are gone. But also just the severity of what's happening to our channel right now. And the severity of what's going on right now with everything else is so much more intense than it was last year or the year before. And it made me think of Band of Brothers. I don't know if you guys are familiar, any of you out there are familiar with the miniseries Band of Brothers, but it was done, almost 20 years ago. It's frightening. 2001 is a Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks production about the European theater World War II. It was really about the 101st Airborne, which was the first paratrooper. We didn't have paratroopers until that. There was a need. They created all this stuff, and they became the first paratroopers. No, I'm not a big war guy. I like history. And this was a very accurate telling of history, and it was accurate because many of the people that were involved, Lieutenant Winters, in one of the key roles, they're all still alive, or they were alive at the time. And so they narrated the entries. You had first-hand accounts of these experiences. And a script was written around those first-hand accounts. If you're not familiar with it, it's amazing, and you should just attend DVD series. It's amazing. But the scene I want to play for you, which, believe it or not, I can actually play, really surprised.
We hope.
Well, they haven't dinged us for it yet, so it's going to take them a while. If I can get the thing. The scene I'm going to play is exactly where we're at right now in this battle, and it's not just with media. This is where we're at right now with the battle against corporate-controlled government. And you can see it happening. You can see the teeth coming out. You can see the bombs. You can see the nastiness starting to really show itself in their actions all around. And it reminded me of the scene where the paratroopers, they've done their training. They're ready to go. And they're on the plane, and they're going to the drop point on D-Day. And I've jumped out of an airplane once. I can tell you it was terrifying. Terrifying in the sense that I'd never done it before. I was scared shitless. I still had the the packed away in my little feardom was knowing that I was with somebody who knew how to operate the parachute, and I felt relatively safe around that, my chances of surviving. These guys did not have that. They had parachutes, but they know what they're going into. But it's a long plane ride from where they started in England to where they're going. And that's where we're at. We're kind of like that long plane ride. It's like we knew we were heading into battle. And the attack on our channels, the nasty attacks that have come out in this primary season, they're waking up to the fact that we're almost there. We're almost really there to the nasty battle. I just want to play this scene because it's so exactly the way I felt this morning looking at what was going on. So here you go. I'm just going to stop there because it gets really nasty after that. The whole point is the suspense building up to knowing that you're going into danger. And we're there. It's time we open our eyes on the ride and realize we're there. For a lot of people, they've been there for a long time, and they are fighting for their lives right now. Right? But I think for me, it's kind of a wake-up call. And I'm not sure what we do about it. I don't really know. There's nothing that UHM can do. I had these slides prepared to say all this shit. There's nothing that we can really do. There's no fight back other than to ask you, the viewers, to please check your subscription status. Please share this content anywhere you can. You're the paratroopers. You're the delivery system. Because this platform, YouTube, is the most beneficial platform to use, but we're under attack by being on it. So, I guess that's all I got on that one. There's links in the description to GoFundMe for the pirate ship headquarters in Washington. And if you guys could please do that, that would be helpful. Just share that out if you can't donate or if you've already donated to it. We should have no problem reaching our goal there and getting this floating platform. That's something the media can't attack. If we put this ship, and I will build a media network on this vessel, and then with the Solo, it's autonomous. We can broadcast, we can push that out anywhere we want. We can mirror it to different places because we'll have double broadcast stations. So we can push to Facebook and YouTube at the same time. So go to that link, click on that. All right, that's all. What do we, Marcus? I've babbled enough. What's next?
Okay.
So actually, though, before we go on, I do want to mention,
yes,
follow Uphill Media on Twitter or Facebook or some other social network, because if YouTube decides to shut us down, that's where you can find out. I know a lot of us in the chat right now are from Slack, so you guys will get the behind the scenes stuff. But
right.
Generally, if YouTube decides to shut us down, the best way to find out what's happened is from a Twitter post or from a Facebook post. One of the mistakes I made when I originally did progressive YouTube videos was make them, and then I didn't really promote my Twitter account because I was like, I don't want to be a bit of a douche here and be like, oh, follow me, I want more followers. But then because I didn't do that, after I gained like 300 subscribers, YouTube shut me down and I lost all of those followers. Yeah. So in order to avoid that, in order to keep up, in order to make sure that you know what's going on, if one day you notice Uphill Media is gone, go check out the Uphill Media Twitter, or I think we have a Facebook.
We do.
Yeah, just follow us there, because then we'll be able to update you if something really bad like YouTube shutting us down does actually happen.
Yeah. It's yeah.
We're Political Revolution TV on Facebook, and we've tried to change it several times, but the new name is too different from the old name, so they aren't letting us do it. And so you just got to know. It's a it harkens back to our roots. So.
And the last message I sent them was nasty about it, and so I doubt they'll let us change it.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, I do well with that.
Well, maybe it's good that it doesn't have the same name. Maybe, if we get targeted, who knows? But,
maybe. And listen, I've been looking at alternatives. I know that people are talking about Steam It, DTube, and all these places, and I keep going there and like, okay, maybe we'll use this, maybe wherever. Part of the issue for us is having people that have the time to post to these places, right? And that's one of the big issues. So if you can do more than share it on social, and you want to help us with that, and I also say this to members in Slack who have volunteered but maybe aren't doing much other than posting stuff to the general tab or just hanging out. If you're looking for something to do, helping us share this content in social media is absolutely what we need. And helping us post it in different places. You got Katie and her son who create video clips, and then she writes articles and posts them on the Maven, which is under the Political Storm brand, which is we were asked to post there, which is cool. So anybody got any suggestions? And remember, our content is candidates. This show is fun, right? But our content is about candidates. So if our candidates are being silenced, our content does no good if it's not getting anywhere. That's really what this is about. It's not about getting views for UHM. It's about getting views for Gail and all the other candidates that we have on, right? That's really what this is about. Mm-hmm. And the effort of all the volunteers that make it happen.
Mm-hmm. I think maybe we can do more to encourage the candidates to share the clips that we make of their stuff. Put those on your website, put them on your Twitter, pin them on your Facebook or something like that. I don't see enough of that, I don't think. And maybe we need to push that.
I agree. But I wonder how many of these candidates have solid social media presence as well.
Well, yeah. That's a really good point.
A lot of them are just doing it themselves. I know most of them are doing it themselves, actually, when we talk to them. And that's the hard part.
Yeah.
That's the hard part. So, that's another thing to say. If you want to help social media by helping a candidate, you help us. Really. Right? Because you can choose what to post.
Yeah. Yeah, Melissa, Uphill Media interviews more progressive candidates than any channel. Damn right. Yeah. Damn right.
Do we really? Do we get through more of them than Young Turks? Because they
for sure.
They don't interview a lot.
Yeah, because I've seen TYT, their TYT Rebel headquarters clips in which they interview candidates, and I see comments where they're like, "Oh yeah, I saw this candidate on Uphill Media first. They seem to really be getting to candidates before anyone."
We do seem to be the gateway channel for a lot of people, which is nice.
Well, that's good.
That really kind of is all what we've been. So.
They got nothing to lose coming on here.
Yeah.
That's really.
From what I see here is a difference. The interviews on TYT are not that long and not that detailed as our long videos are.
We let them roll.
Of course, there are candidates which are covered longer in interviews, especially with Jimmy Dore, and other things are much shorter. They're not going so deep. Of course, there is not that time maybe available as we offer them.
Melissa says probably more than all other channels put together.
Damn.
Oh.
Damn. Wow.
Well, I just want to. That's made possible by volunteers.
Yeah.
Right. And if we didn't have the content teams we have a shirt finally in the works. Ash did it. We're doing a.
The concert shirt?
Yeah, we're doing a 2018 production crew shirt. All right. So I've got the names on the list. I'll probably post that somewhere, and then if you're a volunteer in the network and you don't see your name on the list, it's because I don't have you in one of my lists, and we need to get that fixed. But I think I have everybody that's active. These would be active participants.
Yeah, and we know who the active people are. You know?
Yeah, we do, and I just thank you, volunteers, because without you, there are no We the Peoples, right? And that includes Markus and Laura and Joe and all of you out there that are doing things, but that's what we're dependent on. It's a small group. It's less than 30 people, right? Maybe less than 20 people. I'm not sure. I'd have to go count. Probably less than 20 people. That's a small number of people, and the best way you can support that group of people creating this content, if you're not one of those people, is to share this content on the internet and help us. And then the second best way is to give us money. Right? We're over the $500 a month mark.
5,000.
Yeah,
5,000.
That's our fantasy, Mark.
right.
Yeah.
No, 5,000 a month, which is actually a remarkably insignificant amount of money
Yeah.
when you think about what. And I'm not going to say any names, but when you think about what other indie networks and other organizations have set for goals and have asked for, same. What we're trying to do with that is move to a building. There's a couple buildings in downtown Albany that we could move to. Hire one person to take over the engineering board at least $15 an hour, and basically cover the utilities and bills and whatnot that we have at that place. We can do a lot more than that for $5,000 a month. Actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have the actual number, but that's the goal. And if we had that in place, then we could create a hell of a lot more programming. We could dedicate time to promotion, to marketing, to getting the content out there in more places. This is the kind of thing we need to do. We really have to cross over that level. You have helped us become sustainable. Now we need to be louder. We need to turn it up to 11. You know, that's what we need to do. So, going off on a bunch of stuff today.
Yeah.
No, this is important. I mean, we're getting to the point of feeling a little discouraged at, we are reaching out, to organizations. We've got tools, we've got things to share, we've got technologies to share, and it's fallen a little bit on deaf ears, and that's a shame that a great resource that could be added, to anybody's repertoire is not being used. So, so it gets discouraging. We just wonder if anybody's even paying attention. So.
Yeah.
Right. And the only way they're going to know is you guys. There, I just wanted to put that all up there because those are my slides.
Oh. I was gonna say, you need a little music go behind that.
Well, right.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
That's the goal. And and a shout out to the Prague Walk crew, and thank you, Oz, for working with them. They did a great show yesterday, and they've really worked hard. And it's so hard for them to do that because they're all dealing with jobs and kids and life and candidates and helping candidates and then making a show, and all of you guys are in this place. This is, I remember musing to Laura, I think years, Jesus, at the beginning. What would it be like, or what was it like to be in? I was talking to Markus about this too, but what is it like to be at war, but also like get up every day, and then the kids got to go to school, and then you got to mow the lawn, and you got to go get milk, and you got to work a job, and now we know. Now we know. And that's, at least that's how I feel right now.
There's a certain amount of nervousness I get even at the idea of going to big events.
Right.
I had the opportunity to go up to Berkeley and see Nina Turner tonight, and I'm just terrified to go up to Berkeley by myself. And I don't know why. I'm usually quite brave, but it's like there's a low level dread and a feeling of who knows what's going to happen. There's scary things going on out there, and
Right. Right. And actually, I'm going to say this one last thing, and then we can move into the last week's stuff, Markus. But just to clarify, I sent this message to a couple organizations, big organizations that I've been in contact with. But I want to say this message out so that by chance there's any other organization listening specifically in California or anywhere really, and here's the thing, we have the technology, we have the gear to live stream events. We are a live stream provider. What we can't do well and manage at the same time is being the event creator and coordinator. So if you're out there and you want live streaming support, we can help you. But you have to say, hey, we're making an event, and can you help us live stream it? Because we don't know about your events until it's too late. And this organization was created to do that, right? And I've got gear that is collecting dust that could be utilized. And that's, you know, this system was built to do that. And when we had Scott G in the primaries, that was what we facilitated the most, was live streaming events for the revolution. I feel like we haven't been able to do that this year because I don't have ground teams. And we're not connected with those ground teams that are creating events. So if you know about them and you want, there it is. Just want to say that there. So
Takes very little for us to prep and organize for this, but we do need some time and some communication.
yes.
It would be great.
And most of you people in the audience, you know this. Most of you watching the live right now know this. Those of you that drop by later on, the you know, hi. I'm not. It's not
All of you, three of you.
I found out the other day that Gene Atkins, who's the chair of the DPO, Democratic Party of Oregon, actually did watch at least one of Larry's shows. So we know other people watch. Hi, maybe if Peter Courtney's out there, if you've seen one of our shows. Love to have you on We the Peeps, give you the same opportunity we gave Joyce Judy. To say that's anyway. To all those who watch, and I see your comments. I do see your comments when you're like, "Hey, I've been watching," and blah blah blah. I just don't say anything. So, thank you, everybody. Thank you. All right, Marcus, you want to take us into stuff from last week? Oh, this okay. So the first thing is Progressive Oregon. You said you didn't know much about that. I'm going to talk about this real quick. So Casey Jama and Shaba Woodley were both on Progressive Oregon show, and we don't have a clip from it because what you should really do is just watch them both. Watch the whole damn show. They're both excellent. They were wonderful candidates, and it's you just watch the whole Larry show. Larry Taylor and Betsy Cunningham are bringing in 2 or 3 candidates a show to give them airtime. It's amazing, and and let me tell you this: we are learning quickly that it has an effect, that it is poking the establishment, has them curious, they're concerned about what's going on there. And right now, this is the show Progressive Oregon, okay? Uphill Media has had to make it clear to the Democratic Party of Oregon, because we want to work with them, that the program Progressive Oregon is its own entity. The views and positions talked about on there by Larry and Betsy and everybody on there are theirs, and Uphill Media takes a stance of neutrality as a 501c3. The bigger message that I'm telling you all in this is that our network is having an impact on state-level democracy, and we have had to make it clear where we stand legally to separate ourselves from them. That's huge. That's significant. That shows you why we're being attacked, and it shows you that the progressive narrative is having power against the establishment Democratic Party at the state level. Don't look at the national. I just wanted to bring that out because that's positive. Larry Taylor's doing a great job. Betsy Cunningham, they bring in more people to do interviews. They have to we'll just have that person next week. They have to push people off. I'm watching them. So Larry, Betsy, thank you for doing that. And that was what went on with that. We don't have a clip from that, but that's okay. We have a clip for Jason, Marcus?
Yes, we have a clip for Jason, and When I rechecked the interview, I was under the impression of what happened yesterday or the day before, when it came out how the Democratic Party tends to choose their candidates, and we will come to this a little bit later. But I chose under this impression, I chose Jason Kashinev's statement, our Green candidate. On what he thinks on how the Democratic Party, what they are doing and how they are rigging elections. Let's hear what he has to say.
What about the DNC lawsuit? Do you think that has merit? Sorry, I'm just trying to.
Well, I mean, I think the people are right, and the DNC has obviously frauded the primary. But whether they have a legal right to fraud their primary, they may be correct. Maybe they do have a legal right to sit in the back room with cigars and choose their candidates, and maybe that's why the Democratic Party's got to go.
Well, and that they do have that right because it's a private party. That's why we have to control it and then change the rules. Like
Right.
that's what's so difficult is that, and apparently they can disobey the rules and sue other people for doing the same thing, and it's all right.
They're never going to have that lawsuit go through.
No.
If they go through with that lawsuit, WikiLeaks is going to show up, and they're going to go through a whole discovery process that's going to make the Democratic Party look like crap.
Well,
I saw a WikiLeaks tweet, and they're looking forward to it. I don't think the Democratic Party will be.
right. They're like looking forward to discovery. We're excited.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Laura Livengood, I want to check in. I see Metalheads talking.
Okay.
All right, that's a good spot right there.
Yeah. This was his short statement. Yeah, and in the end, he's right. This is crazy for us Germans. It is crazy to think about a party being a private party. A private club which can do whatever he wants. And obviously they can. And so it is not very astounding what we learned this week. How they are approaching candidates to leave the race. But as I said, we will address this a little bit later. Yeah.
Right.
This was Jason Kashinev from the Wednesdays We the People show.
Green Party candidate.
Green Party candidate. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Monday, actually, but if anybody's keeping track.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Right.
It was Monday. Yes.
Yes.
We didn't have a Wednesday.
Yeah. No.
We
Unfortunately,
did.
not.
We held that date for another candidate a little too long and
Yes.
weren't able to fill the gap, so we had Wednesday off. Which
Right.
there
Right.
are worse things than having Wednesday off.
And just
But,
before I
we
forget
only
now.
have so many Wednesdays before the primaries, so we really need to fill them up.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And it's before I forget, we have Ed Burnette coming up.
Eric.
Monday.
Eric, my
Eric
bad.
Burnette.
Eric Burnette.
Yes.
And we still have not nailed down a day for Levy Sanders, correct?
His primary is not until September.
Oh,
So
okay.
I am working with Elena now to identify, get
Later
past
on.
Oregon, California, Washington. He's in, and right now it's tight. California, Oregon, because we're both within the next 6 weeks.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm really trying to fill up. So we've got Eric Burnette. He's Oregon District 2. So that's Jim Crary, who we've had on the show a couple of times, because that's that huge district east of the coast, half of Oregon, it looks like. So he is another progressive candidate who's running for that role. So we're looking forward to seeing him.
Yeah.
And then Stephen Jaffe, who it's been a year since we restarted We the People.
Steven.
And he was our very, very, very first guest on We the People, part 2. And so he's coming back because we've recently interviewed some of his opponents, fellow Democratic opponents. We have Shahid Buttar and Ryan Kajasti. And so it was seemed fair to bring him back on to celebrate the year anniversary. So he'll be on Wednesday, May 2nd.
Oh,
And
okay.
I just talked to Markus about it before the show, and I'm asking him just for any additional topics that he wants to talk about, so we can refresh his day.
I look forward to talking to Steven.
Yes, love Stephen.
We have at least four, right?
Yeah.
Good, great,
Yes.
progressive candidates running against Pelosi.
Yeah,
That's huge. I like them all.
yeah.
Well, the
So
ones I
the
talked
last one, I still have the Green Party candidate. I still have to
Right.
can. I need to reach out to him again. But we've also got, so speaking, we just had Jason Kishinev, another candidate from District 5, California, which, by the way, is the wine country, Sonoma, Napa. There's a lot of agriculture, high-end agriculture, a lot of winery money.
Right.
The races up there. So, but Nils Paulson is going to be on, and he's another progressive candidate for that role.
That's Marcus. This is the guy I said he looked like a European. He's got a European name. He's got too much European. He really does. He looks like he immigrated over last year, and he's like, I'm going to run for office.
Looks like a Viking.
But he was born.
His roots are in Scandinavia, definitely.
Oh yeah. Roots are.
So
he's
so
born
he's going to be on the 9th. May 9th.
Okay, that's fast. He was born in America. Just everybody, he was born here. He's like a total California dude. Don't get me wrong. It's not.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But that's all I've got booked. But on my wish list, just recently, people have suggested to me Brian Kim, who's a candidate for California District 53, Eric Rydberg, who is running for Secretary of State. I believe he's the Green Party candidate.
Oh, cool.
Sam Jamal, who's running for District 50 in California.
Oh, good.
And Andy Caffrey, who's running for District 2 in California. They're all on my short list of people saying, hey, so that's what I'm looking for. I mean, people who like, Delaney Easton or whatever, they've kind of established a name for themselves. We're looking for the people who really are looking to be seen, maybe for the first time on a vast internet stage that we offer here.
The Oregon CD2 race is very interesting.
Yes.
I'm inclined, and I asked Larry about this. I'm inclined to I don't know, see if we can get them all together to do something, because that wouldn't be that hard. I mean, we've had Jim on. I'm excited to talk to, what's his name, Eric. Eric Burnette.
Yeah.
And this is the race. This is what's interesting. Jamie McLeod Skinner is the establishment choice, right? She's got a great website. She has a very well written stuff, but it's all, access to health care, and it's all the, you see all the differences in the democratic wording of the website versus the other, and there, I absolutely. Something else I can't talk fully about right now right here, but absolutely have heard and know for a fact, the Democratic Party has put their weight behind her and had their weight behind her already. And they're concerned, definitely, absolutely concerned about the progressives that are running against her. So that's an effect that we've had, right? I think that's awesome. That's awesome. Anyway, thank you for all that effort booking and getting people for that, Laura Livengood. Appreciate that. And
you are quite welcome. No, it's fun. If I could, do this as my real job, I'd be very happy. But
and we could make that happen. We just need $10,000 a month from everybody. We can include Laura Livengood.
Go fund me so Laura can have a new job. Oh, that's
well, anyway. We are at it, we would only need a little bit more, and I could.
Well, I am grateful to have a very patient team who does not get on my case when we don't have someone booked yet for next week, or their card ready, or something along those lines. So that's where help. If you have any talent for tracking booking, that would be a super thing to have some help on. Even if just following up with people that we've already reached out to on a regular basis. I tend to lose track of them once I've tried once. So
yeah, awesome.
Anyway,
thank you.
Putting out there.
I'm looking at comments. Joe? Are you looking at comments? What have you been doing, Joe?
I've just been looking at comments.
Yeah.
That's about it. Just looking at comments, having a fine time. Basically doing what I would be doing if I wasn't on the show.
Right. Just doing. You're just on camera, not on camera.
Yeah.
The problem is I can only show either Joe or the video we're running next, so you don't get to see Joe. Marcus, do you want to set up the? Or no, I'm sorry. The next thing is Nancy Green, right?
Yeah.
Nancy Greenman. My bad. Nancy Green was awesome. So that was. I'll just go into this. We're changing up the format of how this goes because we got 4 people on this now, and so we got to figure out what the hell we're doing. Nancy Greenman was wonderful. I don't know if you saw that interview with her. It was Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Friday at 9 a.m., which, everybody's around at Friday at 9 a.m. to watch an interview. It's like when the DNC holds, or when the city council holds a meeting about something important. Come on, just take your day off work.
Yeah.
The nice thing about, YouTube, as long as we don't lose the video, is that you can watch it anytime. It's about 40 minutes. Nancy is an amazing person who has been in public service for 50 years. And you hear that at the beginning. She talks about how she got started. In 1968, she was in Germany watching a bunch of German people run their democracy real well and protest and do all those things. And she said, And she went back and what's interesting is my dad was in Germany in 1968. He didn't say anything about the politics. He told me about beer and my mom and bowling in the Army, because he was over there for the U.S. Army. But Marcus is like, see Marcus's face. Just look at this. You weren't even born yet, or you had just been born, actually, sir. So.
Yeah, but it was not all over Germany. It was not across Germany. It was in certain cities. In Berlin, it was massive, and some other cities. And I suppose she was in Berlin at that time.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where she was. But she what she said was she brought that stuff back to America, and
she brought the guerrilla tactics of the students back to America.
Yeah, and so she was, and I don't know how old she is now. She's got to be in her 70s at least, and she's got more energy than I do. She's perpetually excited and upbeat about stuff, which is awesome and annoying at the same time, especially for somebody who deals with depression. But she's amazing. She's huge. She's doing so much. She was the chair of the Lynn County Democratic Party, and then she said, I really want to focus on just grassroots action, and the leadership role of the Democratic Party is nah. And I totally hear her there. The Neighborhood Leadership Program, which is the same thing we've heard about from the Progressive Washington Group, which is called up there, it's the Zipsters, calling it, right? Which is Courtney and Rhonda with their names. Just love that.
Okay.
It's anyway. The point is that it's easy enough that I can do. So if you're a lazy Democrat, which is what I am, and you don't really want to put in a whole bunch of effort, which is why I started this, then you do what the Neighborhood Leadership Program is. I got 35 names on the list, and I can walk to all of them. And so this video, Marcus, what video clip did you pull up?
This is exactly the video I chose, the piece I chose, because I liked it so much. Because to me, I had the impression when I watched it that she could be your old teacher at school, which you don't want to disappoint, and you follow to do your homework, And it was so great to see you when she was talking about this, and that shows.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, she is. She absolutely is. She's like my mom and all of the teachers I had in high school that were like, such a mind, such a waste, such a waste. If only you'd stay awake in class, She's Mrs. Donar from chemistry class. Now I think back, God, I could have made some really cool shit in the 90s had I stayed awake in chemistry class, So, yeah, and Nancy guilts me. It's my own guilt. I'm like, I will absolutely do whatever you ask, right? And so it works really well. If you need that kind of guilt, then find yourself a Nancy Greenman, because it works really well. Anyway, let's listen to this conversation. I'm a PCP, and I'm a PCP mainly because you and Graham and other people were like, you should go do this, and then you helped me do this. You even turned in my what was it? I want to be
application.
My application.
You're filing to run to be on the ballot.
I'm a lazy PCP. I'm a bad one. Nancy does most of the hard work, but I'm out. PCP is supposed to get a lot longer list. This Neighborhood Leader Program, you don't have to be a PCP to do that, right?
So precinct committee person,
Yes.
Our smallest political unit of geography in Oregon is a precinct. And in Lynn County, we have, I think, 90 precincts, something like that. And these are geographical areas, but they're determined by number, at least in part, by number of registered voters. And they are the same for Republicans and Democrats.
Oh, okay. Okay.
which are the major parties. Yeah, and they're sort of regulated by state law.
Okay.
And so if you are a PCP, you become the Democratic Party contact person and sort of representative to the county party for those people. And let's say there are some hundreds of people, and there would be at least a couple of PCPs because by law, and it's the gender binary, you have for each precinct at least one female and one male identified precinct committee person.
All right.
Now, to really organize that precinct, that's a lot of people to organize, and it's a lot of people to know and be known by, particularly in, as we were saying, the large part of Lynn County that's rural, right?
Right.
To
Yeah.
get out and to know people in all of these areas. So one of our Oregon counties, Washington County, a number of years ago, developed this neighborhood leader program, and it is what it sounds like. You become the leader in your neighborhood, and we define neighborhood, as it says, about 35 of your nearest Democratic neighbors. And that can change. It can be more, it can be less, depending upon who you are. And I'm going to use John actually as an example of why it's a great strategy. And I'm actually going to use John as an example of why I love the program.
Yeah,
right?
It works well.
So I'm not a community organizer because I want everybody to be on mainstream culture, dominant culture, time and way. That is to say, now doesn't have to mean now. Now can mean what now means to you. I think a good organizing program allows people to have their lives, meaning at any given moment. So we have about 40 right now active neighborhood leaders. Of those 40 people, at any given moment, life's happening to some in many, many ways, and they're not being active. And they have to be able to come forward and be carried by the rest of us until life allows them to be active. So what's wonderful about a program like that is you say, we're going to keep doing the work. I'm the coordinator. I'm going to keep leading the work. And whenever you can join in, we're ready for you. And we will welcome your energy.
Yeah.
So John, he had his neighborhood walk list for, I was thinking about this, 8 months. Do you think 8 months?
Yeah, I don't know how long.
And I would have conversations with John. Where are you? How's it going? What's up? And I know John's doing work. You're doing this work. You're not, being passive, whatever. You're doing good work. You're not ready yet. But
Right.
a couple of weeks ago, we had a conversation, right? And I said, John, let's open your walk list and see who's on it. Remember?
Yeah. Yeah.
Look, John, it's your neighbor on one side.
Yeah.
Look, it's your neighbor on the other side. And John said, what'd you say?
I already know. I mean, I already talked to them.
I could talk to my neighbors,
Yes.
right? And then John got on fire, and started doing his neighborhood.
Well, part of it is guilt, because after I talked to Nancy, I'm like, I really need to do something. And so, yeah, but then I looked at my list. I should have brought a map of the list. I can walk to all 35 places. Like, it's just right up and down my road. And that makes it so much more like, oh, I can accomplish that. I can do that, and I can do that over a course of several days. And I've already eliminated, unfortunately, there's a lot of misinformation in these lists that we need to correct, but I've already, it had me listed in the same house as the people that previously owned it. So like, well, we can get rid of those too because they're not on here anymore. That's stuff like that. But I also got to meet a neighbor for the first time, just down the way. it was awesome, right? And turns out he believes in some of this, the same key issues as most Democrats. And now I know him, and he knows that I'm active in the Democratic Party. It was cool. That just doing it that way was less daunting than, oh my God, I have 300 people, which is what the precinct committee thing is like. You have this giant space, right? So it was cool when it says, I want to look at this. I'm going to stop there because you get the point. Guilt works with me.
That was great.
Ex-Catholic. It really works.
Awesome.
And Nancy's an amazing person, and you all should try to get involved with that. If nothing else, a neighborhood leader program. It's really nothing more than what we used to do. My parents and their parents, certainly, when you moved to a neighborhood, you went and got to meet your neighbors. You didn't just stay isolated in your home. You went next door. They had a housewarming party. We used to have these things called housewarming parties. Mm-hmm. I don't know what happened to those.
Maybe they're supposed to bring you food. That's the deal.
Yeah. Welcome to our neighborhood. Let's make you feel welcome.
A casserole or a cake.
and we were welcomed, but we didn't do anything besides the one neighbor that I talked to came over. Marilyn and Dave, got to know them. They're great. Found out they were burners, even better. And then they started telling us about the rest of the neighborhood. And when I found out about a person with 50 caliber, I was like, I don't think I'm going to be so active going out and meeting my neighbors, right? Because there's a Trump sign down the way and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And I really felt like, okay, I know Dave and Marilyn. I think the guy right next to me is relatively cool. My neighbor directly across the street is a dog groomer, but everybody else is probably a psychotic, insane person. I stay away from him. That was the attitude. Until I walked my neighborhood and started to find out who they were. And when you see the list, you're like, oh, look, that's person right next to my dog groomer who I didn't know at all, and it says they're a Democrat. Not that I'm looking to that for that D, but it is helpful, right? They're on the list. So it was an interesting way to meet and connect with people, and Nancy's great. And this is the power of community. This is exactly what our government doesn't want us doing, is talking with each other, building that community, recognizing that we're not different and we're fighting the same evil.
Mm-hmm. This is let's open our list and look at it.
Yes.
I love that. It was like, let's just take one small step.
Yes, Mrs. Greenman.
Your face was like, oh, okay.
Yes, Mrs. Green. It worked. It worked. It really did. But I want to ask the chat really fast. How in the world you guys ended up conversing about veganism this whole time?
I don't know. The whole conversation now has been about burgers. I don't think anybody's been listening, but I was
about
listening.
Pizza.
And I want to not listen. You can talk about whatever you want, but I do want to bring it back to this. Now that YouTube archives the chat and it syncs with this, just keep that in mind for future history. It's like, oh, there's me talking about veganism again while they're talking about. Just gonna say, the chat now has relevance.
Don't try to control chat, John. Mm-hmm. I've learned my lesson on that.
Oh. Well, I won't control chat. You talk about whatever you want. I'm just saying now it's on the record.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, yeah, your hair has been commented on. No, guys, he does not have a haircut. He just looks like he has a haircut. But I like it. I like the ponytail.
I needed to do... What, Marcus?
Say, John, how do you describe your new hairdo?
If you...
It's a faux cut.
It's basically Steven Seagal's look circa 1991-ish.
It needs to be completely black, though.
It's a little less. It's a little... Steve's was actually like slicked back with like... It did not move. It was a helmet. Yeah. And I used to have that helmet. And so now it's much more loose. But yeah, I went back to the ponytail. No, I will never, ever, ever. I am way too old to get involved with this man bun thing. Not going to happen. Not going to fucking happen. Stick a bun on my head. Fuck you and your bun. Keep your bun off my head lawn. Anyway.
Just want to set the record straight. Yeah.
That's right. So, hi, Randy. How you doing? We do have an amazing community here, Environmental Coffee House.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So what do we got? What's next, Marcus?
So I have tears in my eyes.
I know you were laughing pretty hard there
You're laughing
while I was
the
getting
most
schooled by
quickly.
Nancy.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's go to yesterday's show, Progressive Washington, and we had a great guest, and the topic is similar to what we heard earlier from Jason, and how the Democratic Party is rigging elections, how the power behind tries to influence us, and to follow their own rules, and Sharma addresses the problem in Seattle and in how far big businesses influence the Seattle City Council, and especially she's talking about, among others, about Amazon.
Yeah, this woman was badass. This is a great interview. Kudos to the Washington team.
Okay. And then what kind of influence does big business have on the Seattle City Council?
I think that's a very, very important point to take into consideration because, a lot of people are very clear about the corporate influence in the White House, obviously in US Congress. For decades, working people across America have been clear about the deep pockets that corporate lobbyists have to target both parties. And certainly there are differences between the Republican and the Democratic establishments. But one thing that they share in common is their allegiance to Wall Street interests. But something that many people may not be aware of because they're not engaged in local politics is that it's the same equation at the city and the county and the state level as well. So what we see is corporations like Amazon, like Nucor Steel, like the Washington Restaurant Association, the Washington Hotel Association, the landlord lobby, all of these have a lot of power in City Hall and in the county and state governments. And the reality is that they don't need to build movements. They don't need to come out and rally and protest on the street. They can quietly, as a private conversation, talk to the council members or the other politicians that they have paid into through campaign donations and call the price for it. And so it's no surprise that, for example, Mayor Jenny Durkin, who's a Democrat, who is a woman and a lesbian, last year in her mayoral race, she Amazon alone, she was a very heavily corporate funded candidate, but Amazon alone threw down $350,000 for her campaign. It's no surprise that Jenny Durkin, in private meetings that she's holding right now, is coming out very strongly against 75 million even. I mean, we are calling for 150 million per year. What she's saying that even 75 million, half of that is too much. And so the power that corporations and corporate lobbyists have is not immediately visible, but we should understand that in a deeply unequal society, wealth equals power. So if you have a corporation like Amazon, for example, that makes $5.6 billion of profit last year, with Jeff Bezos being the richest man in the world with $100 billion of wealth, he doesn't need to show up at the city council public hearing. He has these politicians in their pockets. That is why that's the only explanation for why when Amazon said, we're going to look for other city to be the HQ too, these council members, rather than calling Amazon out for this this open sort of economic blackmail of our city, instead wrote a craven letter to Amazon saying, we would like to hit the refresh button. I'm so sorry if you felt unwelcome in Seattle because of our progressive laws. When was the last time these council members sent a letter to Seattle's renters saying, I'm so sorry you felt unwelcome because of the skyrocketing rents? Never.
Absolutely.
I'm going to stop there because that's just every single one of her statements was like that. Just an incredible badassery of badassness. And what I want to see, I just want to say, I want to see this Bezos Sawant cage match.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
She would just, and I know that's horrible to say, but she would just destroy.
2 men enter, 1 badass leave.
Wow. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that would be, that was a great clip. And as I told Courtney, the easiest interview you will ever do. It was. She did a great job with that. Yeah. She did a great job with that. Yeah. It was well done. What's next? Next on here.
Yeah, what's next? Good question. I think we are done with the review of next week, and we have to address something on our own account, and we are talking about our content team. And for this content team, I have to call out, and we are looking for new volunteers who would like to help us in the research of our candidates. We have busy people working with us together for a very long time right now, and of course we have a little bit of fluctuation, of course, and we have to find another one to help in our research team and to support Linda Kirkman and Jeffrey Pearson in their efforts, and me, of course, in the preparation for the shows. And it would be great to hear from you that someone shows up and that we can introduce in the stuff which is needed for this. It is nothing big, but it is only a matter of getting things organized and doing research. Nothing complicated, but very, very helpful. And it would be great if we get a feedback on this.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Proficiency in Google Slides would be an excellent asset to bring. That we use we do everything on Google Drive, and so research on the internet about candidates. We have a pre-formed template and creating slides.
And of course, I will help with an introduction to all the stuff, and everything will be done to help and to get the team working properly.
And you get your name in the credits.
Yes. You get your name in the credits.
I was just about to say that. Thank you. I was about to say, and my cat Nemo just came in. He's making noise. I don't know if it's raining outside or not. It's been kind of off and on. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I hear him.
Yeah, he's really loud. Yeah, that is a benefit. We are working on right now. Ashley Terry is working on the design for the 2018 production crew T-shirt. And everybody that is unofficially part of the active production crew, before we finish it, will get their name on that list. So now is a great time to be a volunteer if you just want to jump on and have your name on a shirt.
Is the list on the back and a picture on the front?
Yeah, it's going to be a list on the back, like a band world tour.
Yeah.
I have a list on the back, and then
what's on the front?
I haven't
the logo
worked that out with Ashley. I don't want to do something more than just the logo, but I have to talk.
I think it should something like crew or something like that.
Well, yeah, it'll say crew. It'll say production crew, but I want it to be more like a. You know me with the rock and roll.
Yeah.
I want it to be more like a rock album, like a Journey Frontiers or
some Flames
Iron
maybe
Maiden
or something.
Yeah, I want it to look like a fucking band tour or something. I don't know. We got to talk about that and see what he can do.
Right on. Okay. I know.
It's and then we'll put that shirt up available to purchase. But every member of the crew will actually get one. I'm gonna make Larry pay for it.
Yeah.
And then Larry's gonna make the other board members pay for it. I don't know how that works. Just kidding. Whatever. I don't have to worry about it. So, anyway, Marcus, you want to talk about the Careless Whisper? Is that
the Careless Whisper? Oh, you stole my pointy already.
What? Stole it? I'm sorry.
No
Here,
problem.
hang on. Let me get you
it's absolutely no big deal, Last week you had a guest from Europe, and two guests. To be honest, but I think most of you are only aware that Emmanuel Macron was in the USA because there was so much heavy petting happening in the White House with Donald Trump, and it was quite funny to see how they couldn't stop to lay hands on each other, to say it like this, and big kisses and stuff. And
oh, look at that! They look like lovers.
It was in the Rose Garden. The slide we saw before was in the Rose Garden, and yes, it's very.
Oh, look at him! It's like he's wiping. It's like, oh, you've got a little wedding cake on your lapel, sweetie. It's like, oh, thank you. You could wipe that off later, babe. Sorry, those are just great.
It was funny to see, and it was also funny to see how Macron he did a good job. It was a good performance by him, as I think. He tried to give Donny's best friend in this, and. Did it help? I don't know. He's a guy, and look at his face. Look at Macron's face. And this, I don't know. I don't know.
Is that a pull my finger face?
No, it's this guy.
No. this face, and I'm not aware if you know him. There's a French actor from the 70s, a comedian. His name is Louis de Funès, and he made some crazy policeman. The policeman of Saint-Tropez was one of them, and he made the same faces. Everyone who knows Louis de Funès knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh, so is this an inside joke for French people, and Trump's not getting it?
This is more or less an inside joke for people who know movies from France from the 70s.
Right, so French people, old French people. All right, that's I just love that.
Well, but I liked his face, and he's my guy, Donnie says it, and there he leads him. I don't know where. I hope not behind the bushes. It looks a bit like this.
Part of it's, I mean, who set this up? The JCPenney catalog guy? Because it really looks like a. You look fine in this winter affair with this long
I think there should be a special award for Melania, though, for the highest heels I've ever seen a human wear.
Really?
And walk in.
Oh,
there was one crazy scene with Melania where she had the white hat,
Yes, the white hat.
And Donnie tried to kiss her, and it didn't work. And she was not willing to lay her hat in her neck, to make it. No. Date with a great hat there, and he could not manage to kiss her. It was awesome to see.
Probably had razor blades in the brim, Very effective.
Yes.
So what was all this really about? I don't even remember.
State visit to France.
Yeah.
Well, and and this was my crappy attempt,
What is this?
To make a new. This is a movie poster which I changed a little bit, I think everyone knows the Emmanuel, the soft sex movies from the 70s, and this is the original poster, and yes, not Emmanuel on
nice
it. Nice
Photoshop there,
and
Markus.
This is Emmanuel and 45, and there's with David Dennison, John Barron, and John Miller, of course,
All right, I just want to ask everybody in the live audience, and those of you who come by later, how many have actually have heard of Emmanuel, the 70s porn? I have not, but that may
really
just
not.
Be me.
It rings a bell.
Does it for you, Laura?
Yes, you're too young, John.
I'm too young.
Here in Europe, it was running on Saturdays in TVs, and here in Europe it is no problem.
This is not my generation's porn. Let me tell you.
It is no porn. No, it's not porn. It's a soft sex movie.
Yeah. Oh well, it's not my generation's soft sex. We had Skinamax. we had different stuff. We had movies like Porky's. Okay. That was the hard shit. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Move on. We went from veganism to porn, everybody.
Hey.
All right.
Yeah, maybe we shoot some carrots and we do a carrot porn or something.
Here, how about quantum chemistry porn?
Yeah.
Speaking of quantum chemistry porn.
Right. Merkel's face.
Yeah. This was the guest from yesterday, Angela Merkel, which was in comparison to their first meeting, it was okay. The press conference was a little bit weird. I think because some things Donnie said did not make a lot of sense to me, but this is no news for you. You have to deal with this every day.
Yeah.
Angela Merkel, maybe I don't know what she expected. The expectations to the journey of both of Macron and Merkel were not very high here in Europe because nobody knows what Trump will do. We all expect that he will start on 1st of May with his taxations for aluminium, steel, etc., and cars in Germany, and we will start the trade war, or we will reply this war, and we will start ourselves with trade sanctions, and all this bullshit is going to start on 1st May, and what is more important is that we still don't know what his decision will be, what Iran concerns, because this is, I think, is the hottest topic, and there he should, he should be good advised, which is very difficult if you look around who's surrounding him, and I don't know. Yeah. It is a very, very bad situation, right?
It absolutely is. Apologize for that.
all in all, my conclusion to what we saw last week was a lot of do about nothing, a lot of wasted tax money, a lot of environment pollution from the planes, and it was a zero-sum game. Good pictures, that's all.
Well, isn't that pretty typical of these visits?
Yeah.
Not really much is accomplished.
Normally everything for those visits, normally everything is prepared more or less by the committees, and they only meet and make the signatures, and that's it. But there was nothing to discuss because we have nothing. There are no real offices Europe can deal with in America, because Donald Trump has not named any people for the offices. It is very complicated from the European side. We have no real contact. And yesterday was the first time Angela Merkel met the new ambassador for Germany. And Trump is for over a year in office now. Right? We had no ambassador yet.
Huh? Wow.
Stuff like this.
The fact that we have one, honestly, you should just be glad that we have an.
Yeah, we will see what kind of guy he is. I did not check him, but I don't have any high expectations. Who's coming?
It's one of the big planes. We got we got barnstorming planes, like the real deal, biplane that in a crop right next to us.
Oh, doing crop dusting?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm torn because I really love crop dusting. It's cool. I hate crop dusting because it's not environmentally friendly to my knowledge. But boy, it's cool to watch the biplanes do that shit. Anyway, didn't mean it. That's about as important as what Merkel and Trump discussed, honestly. And a clarification before we move on to the next thing. I actually like Macron mostly. I know he's a neoliberal, but he's one of the most calm neoliberals I've seen. Right? I don't know.
He's all right on the environment, right? Like
he's all right on the environment.
Kind of my impression, yeah.
Yeah, and he invited Americans to go there.
Yeah.
It's like, dude.
What the remarkable thing was all the nice photos with Trump and all the heavy petting when he was later in Congress and he made a speech. It sounded much differently to what Trump's positions are, and in some parts you could hear the applause coming from the Democrats, what environment, etc., and the French climate agreement concerns, etc., and we will see,
But at the same time, and this is the tricky part about neoliberals. Macron, France was part of our bombing, right?
Yeah.
Right. So this is, and I've seen a lot of people now, especially Peter Dow. Told you so. Told you so. Hillary never would have done this. And like, no, Hillary would have been more like Macron. Okay.
Yes.
Hillary would have talked environment. She would have said all the right things. Well, she certainly didn't during the primaries. But had Hillary Bot won, or had somebody reintegrated some new software into Hillary Bot, she would have said all the things we needed to hear to keep her in office. We would have seen no real change in any of these things, and we would have continued to see the sales of weapons, but it would have been painted in a completely different narrative, because we wouldn't have had the explosion and the distraction of Trump clown, right? That's the frightening thing. When we look at Macron from a distance, as an American, if I look at what's painted to me on narrative, I see strong on environment, strong on science. Their country seems to be pretty happy compared to ours. They've got health care. They don't have a lot of people in debt. When their people are mad, they get on the streets and riot. It seems to affect change. But at the same time, in the background, they are part of the global arms trade, and they perpetuate that. That is their moneymaker. That's a neoliberal. That's much more frightening than the obvious and blatant attacks of Nazi clown. Right? Laura, what were you going to say there? You were jumping in there. And then you're muted, and sorry, it's totally wrong time. My bad.
No, it was, my comment was if it was Hillary, there'd just be much lower heels involved. Although I would love to see Hillary in a pair of Melania's shoes. That would be hilarious.
Oh, my God.
She'd be falling down.
And doing this, right? Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, that's just me being,
raising the roof in New York. Huge.
Break the glass ceiling, yo.
In my black leather jacket.
Got my pepper sauce in my pocket.
If Hillary was president now, maybe we would have to rename our channel into Up Hillary Media. I don't know.
Oh,
that's terrible. Better rename it Up Hillary anyway. Actually.
Our parody site.
we might get better ratings and views. I don't know. If we come across as satire and not as serious as what we are, then I'm sure YouTube would find a better use for us.
Actually, I just saw somebody mention in chat Peter Douche's liaison, who is one of my favorite Twitter
he's
people
awesome
to follow. I think he was supposed to be on Ron Placone's show.
He was on Friday.
He was on Friday. Did you watch that, Joe?
Yeah. I actually heard the show for that. It was really interesting, actually. Yeah, it was funny because he basically makes all the arguments that you would expect from a Peter Dow, except more exaggerated. So Ron just had a complete blast with it. It's not really a productive conversation. It's just having a lot of fun.
It's on Saturdays. So.
That's cool.
No, I could imagine that. But he's fun. I don't know. Do we know his real name? I know it's at Silly Rabbit is his. I
don't know. They actually because he didn't want his face to be seen because he was in hiding or whatever. So they had the camera pointed to a blank wall or whatever. So the entire time it would be Ron asking a question and then Peter Douche just giving this ridiculous answer while a white wall would appear.
Yeah.
I love it. They should just have had his avatar. That would have been
That probably would have been a little better.
Anyway,
but
I highly recommend to people follow him on Twitter though. He's a way to find out what Peter Dow is really saying in a much more entertaining way.
And you realize this is the second account because he got closed down as Peter Douche. The Twitter account, and then had to pick up on, I assumed it was a friend's account called Peter Douche's liaison.
It was his alternate Twitter account.
Right.
He'd been using for other things, so he was able to pick it up. It had quite a few followers already, and I think he's back up probably pretty close to where he was.
Right. It's hard.
I'm sure that we know it's a parody account. Yeah.
We rebuilt 4 channels to above 10,000 subscribers on YouTube because we had no choice. It's hard.
Right.
And now with 14,000 subscribers, it doesn't make a difference because our videos don't get seen.
More than 10 points in a year, it seems like. Since we changed to this channel, it was just below 14,000 then, and we get new subscribers every single day. We see them come in.
Yeah.
Where do they go?
Yeah.
It's like they drop off the back end. It's like a zero-sum game. I'm not really sure why.
I don't know. Anyway, it's not you guys. You guys are here. We got this last video to play, Marcus, and I got to find the cat in my garage because I think he knocked over some stuff, and I got to get it out. Can't do that while we're live.
Okay.
The last video is this.
The last video is about what I mentioned at the beginning of the show, what we found out in how far the Democratic Party tries to get candidates they don't want out of the race, and we should roll it, and then Joe takes over and tells us a little bit about it.
And just you guys set. This is the conversation that was recorded. A Colorado candidate. And it's interesting the argument that's made, but it's the same bullshit argument we've heard before, and it's just a matter of principles. But just hearing the recording is just amazing.
Yes.
And then Joe, take it away, and I'm gonna go find my cat.
In his farewell address, President Obama told Americans that if they were fed up, they should go out and run for office.
If you're disappointed by your elected officials, grab a clipboard, get some signatures, and run for office yourself.
And in the Trump era, thousands of Democrats have heeded his call, running for office in elections across the country. Meanwhile, in the race for Congress, the DCCC, or the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, has moved aggressively to crush competitive primaries. DCCC officials and senior Democrats are hand-picking moderate, business-friendly candidates and are attempting to push progressives out of key races. In Colorado's 6th District, one of the most competitive seats in the country, the DCCC moved in early to select Jason Crow, a corporate lawyer, as the party candidate, pushing resources, endorsements, and money to Crow while elbowing out progressive Democratic competitors. The Democratic Party often denies that they play favorites. What follows is a meeting between Congressman Steny Hoyer, the number 2 Democrat in the House, and Levi Tillemann, a progressive running for the nomination for the Colorado seat.
Levi, I want to talk to you about this congressional race.
Absolutely, that's what I expected.
Yeah.
You would like me to get out of the race.
You keep saying I would like you to get out, and of course that's correct.
Yeah. I know you're fundraising for Crow.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm for Crow. I am for Crow because a judgment was made very early on I didn't participate in the decision.
So your position is a decision was made, very early on before voters had a say. That's fine because that's the DCCC knows better than the voters of the 6th Congressional District, and we should line up behind that candidate.
That's certainly the consequence of our decision. There are two things I'd like you to consider. One may be easier than the other. The first would be if you stay in the race. And frankly, I would hope you would not. I'll get to that. But if you stay in the race, it is not useful to the objective to tear down Crow. Crow's clearly the favorite. That doesn't mean you win. It just means he's the favorite.
I hear you.
That doesn't mean it's right. It just means
No, I hear you.
right. I don't know Crow well, but I think he's a decent human being.
So before we go any further on that, Crow is the favorite. In no small part, Congressman Hoyer, because the DCCC not only put its finger on the scale, but started jumping on the scale very early on. And I'm born and raised a Democrat. I mean, it's undemocratic to have a small elite select someone and then try to rig the primary against the other people running. And that is basically what's been happening.
I hear you, and I disagree.
But you were part of that process
Absolutely.
as well. You said
Absolutely.
Yes.
I've been at this a long time.
Yeah.
When I said you need to get in strong, hard, and early, you disagree with me. Obviously, that's your choice.
You guys are shoveling money at him.
We're going to continue.
You're going to continue to do it?
We are going to continue to do it. And the reason why we're going to do it is because a decision was made to focus. It was clear that was our policy and our hope that we could early on try to come to an agreement on a candidate that we thought could win the general. And to give that candidate all the help we could give them so that we would have a unified effort going into a general election.
Which means, effectively, Congressman Hoyer, I'm running a campaign against Crow and against you and against the DCCC because you guys are on Crow's side.
Yeah. Frankly, that happens in life all the time.
Oh my God.
Frankly, that happens in life all the time. Wow. I sort of when I saw this on Thursday morning, I actually sent it to everyone I knew. I was like, guys, you gotta hear this. He's so fucking blatant about the fact that they're rigging this. They're like, oh yeah, this happens. We're totally doing it. Yeah, absolutely. And we're gonna continue to do it. He's so blunt that even Levi Tillman, the guy Levi Tillman, excuse me, the guy who's talking to is like, wait, so you're gonna keep on doing this? Absolutely. And then he's like, yeah, totally. This happens. This is normal. This is how this works. Now, before I go into the broader picture of this, I do want to talk a little bit about the Colorado 6th District race, simply just to give you guys a little bit more context. The race currently has 3 Democrats in it. 2 are really standing out. One is Levi Tillman, as you saw in the video. Really progressive candidate, accepting no corporate money whatsoever. He's for Medicare for all. He's for free community college. He's for combating climate change. He's prepared to take on economic inequality. So progressive overall, a former official within the Obama administration. So yeah, so he's running this progressive campaign. On the other hand, as we saw in the video, there is a guy named Jason Crow, who is what I would call a lukewarm Democrat. He says stuff like, oh, we need affordable healthcare. That's why we're going to improve the ACA. No mention of Medicare for all. He says stuff like, oh, college affordability. No mention of anything else. We need to make it more affordable. So lukewarm Democrat, a corporate lawyer, and an Army vet, which is actually one of the key features that you find behind all the candidates who are getting backed by the DCCC right now, or as I like to call them, the Democrats' crappiest consultants club, because that's really what it is. They're full of shit.
Nice.
Now, how exactly has Jason Crow benefited from the DCCC? is actually kind of amazing. Because Jason Crow, first of all, the DCCC already publicly named Jason Crow as being the party's red to blue list. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean he got the endorsement of the DCCC, but it's pretty significant, as in being on this list is the DCCC's way of saying, hey, this is the candidate to look out for. This is the candidate who's going to be taking on a Republican. By the way, Colorado 6th District currently is being served by a Republican congressman, but it's a purplish district, so the Democrats are really looking into it. Jason Crow also has been getting advantages, like he's been getting access to donor lists, email lists, phone lists that none of the other candidates have gotten access to. He's gotten the media coverage because the Democratic Party, the DCCC, have been really pushing how the media coverage goes around. So Jason Crow has been getting a really uneven amount of coverage when compared to some of the other Democrats who were running, because there were other Democrats running before they were forced out by the DCCC. And all of them will tell you, they'll say, yeah, Jason Crow is the guy who was picked by the DCCC. It's 100% obvious. We know it for a fact. We've seen it. We were pushed out of the race. We were encouraged out. Now, in the midst of all this, Levi Tillman knew what was going on. He got direct and indirect messages from the DCCC telling him to drop out. So when he was invited to go talk to Steny Hoyers here back in December, he was like, you know what? I'm going to record this. We'll see how this goes. And that recording that we just heard was what happened. Basically confirming that the DCCC has been backing this one corporate lukewarm Democrat in a fucking primary when the DCCC claims to be the neutral party. That's where we are. And that's not just Colorado's 6th District. That's everywhere, all throughout the United States. We've seen it in Pennsylvania. We've seen it in Minnesota. We've seen it in California. We've seen it in Texas with Laura Moser. This isn't just a Colorado thing. This isn't just a one-time, oh, Steny Hoyer and the DCCC are just really interested in this race. No. They're doing it with all the races. And is it really because they believe that a centrist, lukewarm Democrat is the only way you can win elections? Maybe. It's possible that there are some in the DCCC who are stupid enough to think like that, probably living inside their nice little bubble of cocktails and cheese. I don't know why I put a cheese in there. But like in reality, I think this is a much bigger picture of the Democratic Party wanting to maintain the status quo. It's not about winning. It's about maintaining the fucking corporate Democratic Party that we have going on right now. It's about maintaining the ability to keep on getting all these donations from corporate donors. It's about the ability of being able to keep on doing what they've been doing in the last few years. They haven't seen any victories through this. They had the fucking House, they had the fucking Senate, they had the fucking presidency in 2008, and it has gone downhill since then. And even with a Trump victory, they're not willing to learn and say, hey, to win, we're going to have to run on a progressive path. No, they're not going to do that. Because they don't want to do that, because they don't really care that much about winning, because the number one priority to the Democratic establishment is to maintain the status quo. And they understand that they can't do that if they let progressives like Levi Tillman here, or Paula Jean Swearengin in West Virginia, or Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in New York, or Stephen Jaffe, who's running against Nancy Pelosi, or David Hildebrand, or any of these, if they let any of these progressive candidates win, they know that they are not obliged, they are not obligated to serving corporate donors, because they aren't taking any corporate money, because they've refused, because they've gone into office saying, we're going to serve the American people. And that doesn't bode well for the corporations and the establishment who just really want to keep on maintaining the status quo. This isn't about winning. This is about keeping the same old going on and on.
Absolutely, Joe. And this is what he clearly says, you know. He says this, he's our favorite, Crow, and this doesn't mean he's winning. He says it, you know, and this is absolutely, what do you say, you know, absolutely correct. And there was another strange incident which happened after this, you know, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about this, you know. There was Nancy Pelosi suddenly in the game, you know, and
so
tell us what's going on there.
So Steny Hoyer, as you heard in that video, number 2 Democrat in Congress right now. So who's number 1? Well, that's Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi, the lovely Nancy Pelosi. And and she basically goes out there and gives a statement when asked about this. And she basically seems to say, yeah, this happens, and we're completely 100% okay with it, saying, quote, I didn't see anything inappropriate in what Mr. Hoyer was engaged in. A conversation about the realities of life in the race as to who can make the general election. realities of life. Reality to maybe the people living in the Washington bubble, to everywhere else, not really, especially since this is before the primaries. And by the way, it's like, listen to Steny Hoyer's here, being all like, yeah, we make the decisions in the back room in the DCCC headquarters. Yeah, and then we hold primaries. Wait, but aren't primaries how you decide which nominee gets in? Yeah, but a decision was made. And while I'm not a part of the decision, I'm going to keep on going. That's some House of Cards shit. That's what you would expect.
The
now
United Front thing was very transparent there.
I mean, like you would expect to hear this in like an episode of House of Cards. You would expect like the now disgraced Kevin Spacey to be walking down a corridor, being like, "Yeah, this is how this works," to keep up the facade that the American people have like a fucking vote, and then like doing the knocks and then leaving. Like you would expect that from that. But this is the number 2 Democrat in office, who, by the way, very shady guy. He's one of those guys who raises a lot of money. That's why he has a leadership position. He's one of those guys who goes around saying, hey, if one of our Democrat candidates get in, you, the donors, are going to have direct access to them.
Yeah. That was my biggest takeaway from House of Cards, frankly, was the sense that all decisions really are made on the inside, and they think it's adorable that we think we have anything to do with them being made. Like that's exactly what I saw, and that's exactly what's going on.
We heard this just 3 times today in our show. We heard this about Jason Kishinev, and how the Democratic Party can change the rule book whenever they like. We heard it from Sharma in how far the Amazon or other mighty or wealthy companies do the backroom talks and get their agenda through. And we have this example, and this are only 3 examples from which we know in 1 week.
We've seen behind the curtain now. So it's just becoming more and more obvious when these come up. It's still you're doing this. No, I'm not. It's the politician's speak in that clip was just so classic, and we're starting to recognize that as a template of what we're against, as much as we recognize Bernie's platform as a template for what we're for. So it's just becoming more and more clear. But I could totally imagine Nancy Pelosi giving that exact same speech word for word.
Although she'll probably blabber on a little bit more about other things for some reason, and then she'll be like, "Yeah, and this and this and this," and then I'm a good Christian. Like, what does that have to do with anything, Nancy Pelosi?
Yeah, she would fluff it up, but that would be the
gist of it would be the same, basically.
It's like don't mess with us,
And they're not learning. Like we've seen this with Bernie and Hillary back in 2016. We know what happened there.
Yeah,
we saw what happened. We're pissed about that still.
Yeah,
and then they're like, yeah, we totally improved it. In the meantime, the DCCC, which candidates do you like? Oh, I like these candidates. Let's give them resources. Let's rig the election against the progressives.
And let's sue Russia while we're at it.
Oh yeah. And Keith Ellison wonders why I'm not so willing to give like money to the Democratic Party. Like I'm part of the Democratic Party email list for some reason. So like he sends me like emails begging me to give money, and Keith Ellison's like, "You haven't given any money to the Democratic Party this year. Would you like to change that?" I'm like, "Well, I wonder why I am not so willing to give money to the Democratic Party. It's almost like as if I'm discouraged by the fact that you guys have a stupid fucking lawsuit against WikiLeaks, Russia, and the Trump campaign going on, while at the same time screwing over progressives with the DCCC, and not running on a progressive platform whatsoever." So I really wonder why I'm not inspired by the Democratic Party right now.
Last week I said that maybe the Democratic Party can win only by pointing at Trump and saying we are not Trump without having any agenda. What we see, they have an agenda, but it's a hidden agenda, and it's against us.
And bullshit like this is why the blue wave is a fucking questionable thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not even certain. It should be certain. Like if you ran on a progressive platform and if you were pointing out Donald Trump's not on his fucking hair or his fucking porn star relationships. No, but if you point him out on policy, that's when his polling goes down. Like CNN is always like, "Oh, his polling has gone down." Well, maybe if you guys stopped covering Stormy Daniels for a day and actually went over what the EPA has been doing for a while, which is basically not doing anything, which is the problem here. If you guys cover that, then Trump's polling data goes down because people understand and look at that and go, "Oh yeah, that's an issue that actually affects me," instead of going, "Oh yeah, that's a porn star who fucked Donald Trump." Yeah.
The only reason why there is anyway talks about a blue wave is because Trump is surfing on it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. There's going to be a borrowed blue wave, if anything. The progressives that are running as Democrats just to be in the game, right? That's different than any blue will do type of attitude.
Yeah, earlier last year, there was an article about how the Democratic Party was thinking this was going to be exactly like 2006, where they were like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna have a blue wave," and Nancy Pelosi was like, "We're gonna use similar strategies." I'm like, "No."
Oh my God.
I'm like, no, like we had that in 2006.
We have the internet now since 2006.
Yeah, that too. But like it's a combination of, in 2006 we already had Bush exhaustion. Like it was like everyone was done with George W. Bush, and they're like, you know what, we're gonna go with the other party. But like we're nowhere near that with Trump exhaustion. Yeah, he's ridiculous, and it's tiring to like listen to him and go over this stuff. But he hasn't exactly taken us into illegal wars just quite yet. Hopefully it doesn't happen.
And the Republicans are in majority, and they're happy with what they've been putting through.
The Democrats are running on no ideas whatsoever. They're not even trying to reach out at this point. They're going with Russia lawsuit. Is this working? Is this working? Oh, it's not. It's not. Oh, we made a new car magnet. They literally sent me an email the other day where they were like, get our new blue wave car magnet. I'm like, why?
Now they're selling tchotchkes?
Yeah, I tweeted out. I was like, the Democratic Party must be thinking right now, oh, the Russia lawsuit isn't working out. What are we doing wrong? Maybe it's because we're not running on a progressive platform. Nah, that can't be it. It's because we don't have a car magnet. That's the reason.
Car magnet. That's probably a Tom Perez idea. The Tom Perez car magnet.
We lead with our values, which involve car magnets.
Yes.
All you need to do is put a cuss word on it. You guys have just been going off, talking, and we haven't really answered anybody's questions.
Oh, no.
I only saw one question there, so this is like a lame engagement broadcast. But thank you all for being here. We had more than 50 people in the live chat, and that's really cool.
Oh, cool.
That's a lot of people. Oz, you
Thanks
asked.
for watching.
Yeah, I'm going to sum this all up here because I think we're all missing the greater point. All right? There's a bigger point here. Okay? It's not about So, two things. First of all, we really need to separate the Democratic National Committee, the Democratic Party national entity, from all the state level entities and the county entities. Right? Just like we separate our politicians from the party, just like we don't donate our money to the party proper anymore, we donate our money to the people, the individuals that we believe are actually going to do what the hell we want them to do. Right? Whether they've got a D or an R or an N or an X or whatever goddamn thing they are, doesn't matter. We're looking at their person. We're looking at their character. We're looking at what they're about. Same thing with the parties. Within the party itself, the Lynn County Democratic Party is remarkably more progressive than you would think being in Lynn County. And I know the people in it and I trust them. All right? The Democratic Party of Oregon has progressives infused in it at higher levels now, but it is definitely controlled by an establishment agenda. All right? And we have to work with those individuals, remove those individuals, use the power of Robert's Rules of Order within governance. That's what democracy is. It's the dirty work. Right? And so when you look at the DCCC, which is actually a separate funding mechanism, it's a PAC. Just like our revolution can hand out its endorsement based on what it wants to really do. Okay? Our Revolution National endorsed Randy Bryce, which I think was a questionable thing to do given Randy Bryce is also endorsed by the DCCC. Okay? Maybe in the interest of strategy, it's the best thing to do. But I think it speaks of the wrong choice there to align yourself with the DCCC. But in terms of the Democratic Party, we don't say the DCCC is the Democratic Party in whole. The DCCC is a super PAC that can do whatever the fuck it wants with its money. And so when Nancy Pelosi says we got together, the DNC at the top, who's in control, we got together in a back room and we said, hey, DCCC funding mechanism that we stick all our money into, this candidate, this candidate, this candidate. So when they say to the gentleman, I can't remember his name, it's the way it works. Sure it is. Because that's the way it works for them. And at that level, and between those organizations, that is the way it works. That is not the way it has to work at your state level. That is not the way it has to work at your county level. And we are making those changes at those levels. They don't have control over those levels as well as they do at the national level. That's why the grassroots is where the power is at. And I see evidence of that, some of which I can't even talk about, because it would jeopardize the efforts being made by the progressives within the party. When we talk about this being a war, I'm not joking. We have to infiltrate, take over, and change the fucking laws.
Bam.
That's what we're doing.
And I'm actually glad that you mentioned that, though, because while the DCCC and the national level Democratic Party seems to be okay with this, Colorado's Democratic Party, like within the state, has not been. They've actually noticed.
Nice.
And the state chair has actually been like, the DCCC has said, quote, the DCCC verbally said they would be neutral, and in practice just endorsed one of the candidates in Colorado's District 6.
Right.
So they see it happening, and even at the state level, they're like, yeah, this is wrong. What you guys are doing, this doesn't make sense.
Right. But, it's being said, Oregon's state level Democratic Party, not county level, state level. County level Democratic parties are endorsing progressive candidates. State level has its establishment list, and they've made it clear that the let me see if I get this right. The plank of the Democratic Party of Oregon says that they agree with openness and transparency, and that's what they believe. The bylaws of the Democratic Party, a bylaw that we can change, a bylaw that was put there by the establishment in power, the bylaw says they do not agree with providing resources to Democrats that are primarying incumbents, which is a nice way of saying we're going to leave the people we put in power in power. Because the reality is they can hand that data over whenever they please, and they do. If they're pressured. They do if they're cornered. They do if we take control and we change the bylaw. It's that simple. We change the bylaw, and every Democrat gets access to van, and there's nobody in a goddamn party that can complain about it. That's how simple it is. It's also how frustrating it is when I can look at the people in control of the Democratic Party and say, that's there, and it's wrong, but you're going to look at me right in the face and tell me that's the way it is. Right? That's what we fight. So, anyway. So thank you, Joe, and Laura and Marcus for great coverage and great conversation today. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it was fun to do.
To answer Melissa H's question, which I just happened to see, there was one actually mainstream media outlet that covered this for like a really small segment. CBS actually did that.
Wow.
And CBS News actually tends to be a little bit better when it comes to some of the more progressive leaning, like Democratic corruption revealing news. They do tend to cover it. They just cover it with the usual mainstream media bias, but they do cover it, and they do actually do interviews. They actually had on the guy who got the actual audio tape and published it on the Intercept, Li Fang, on the show to like discuss what it was about, and did like a 6-minute interview there. So, but MSNBC, CNN, the rest, they just all ignored everything. Like, oh, James Comey, Stormy Daniels, Russia.
The standard crap.
Yeah.
Well, we've run a long time over.
Sure did.
So,
what is over in the end anyway?
Yes.
Yeah, really.
When we're done. We're done when we're done.
Thank you all for being here.
What's our song?
Well, what is our song, Marcus? Let's get us out of here.
Yeah, our song is it's a song from Europe, and this time we have someone, a little lady. She's called Zunti, and she's coming from Scotland. She's Indian origins and is a fantastic artist what raga and hip-hop music concerns, and she was touring before and working together with Atari, for example. The older guys in the audience might remember the old computers, the consoles for the video games, the first generation, the Ataris,
yes,
and the sounds they made, you know. And with this band, she performed songs and sang and did their raga performance to it with those strange adaptations of these Atari sounds. And, very interesting to hear. I hope I can play one of those Atari time songs later in another show. Today I'm having a piece of her where she is visiting in France Radio Nova, and she's doing a live performance there, and I think pretty incredible and mind-blowing, and I hope you guys like it.
What do we got next week before we cut into that, Laura?
Eric Burnette.
Beautiful.
Stephen Jaffe.
All right, here it is. I'm trying to adjust that. Here, let's see if we can get this right here. Just going to leave Markus on screen.
Original renegade masters command of nice, yeah. Backing up the radio over like Grand Max Special. Coming up for all you brilliant people, you're kicking about the night, yeah. Remember the Pacific J we say? Pull it up, when you're banging the low, you need to fill it up, when you're ripping up a song, getting and fitting out with a lion, make it boy, yeah. Pull it up, bust and make the bullet rip. Make a bullet rip through ways, yeah, and pull it down the bit. If you're rocking on the right, and then the lights are rock steady. To the rhymes that come around again, now everybody, buddy, I got to pull it up, rip your mind, do you get it? DJs in the record, and the lip look like a river. Or by no matter dance, so now when the breathe, and never make a shiver. Like a jack and stuff and take your liver. Here what we deliver. Make you quiver like a killer. Pull it up when you're rapping in the know. You need to fill it up, right? You know what in the sun you water. And if you want to see it going rising up in your heart, yeah, you want to pull it up. Plant them seed deep down and more feet and water. You will grow them but they sweet like no another. Can find the white Lord, make right sense to me, yeah. Bring that bud down to the slaughter. You're anything but typical, you're shining like diamonds. Don't never step for your typical for respect and definement. Got a little philosophical, political fighting with intellectual dribble. Now we get across the right thing. Call me out if you want to set the fire. Ready, you know, but kick you wire. If you want to see it crashing down on your bed, and then you know what you will take it to fire. Yeah, we'll plant them, see them, we know it's all we need. We're ready, you know, we're in the sun. We like the people, like to kick around with good folk. We like to kick about the cause we know. Yeah, we like to listen to everything we hear within. Cause you know the Lord is trying to speak to you, yeah. And if you want to listen to everything that you hear, you know we'll put you on the right path. Staying out of the dark, yeah, we're ready, you know. But we're trying to avoid the business shocker. Cause you know I come across the many, I have done it all. But you wanna see and cause you know the girl ain't never fall. Oh, you want to pull it up. Kicking around, I live the reggae, pull it up. And if you see it in your mind, you want to rise up high. Yeah, you wanna pull it up, yeah. We have been to and around all over France, making with the ragamuffin back up poker dance. Cause you want to hear it like, yeah. Wanna see it with the grass, yeah. Pull it up, yeah. No whips and no buts and no so. And what is this, yeah? I just like the love, the love that the Lord gave me when he grew the ganja all over the world. Cause you know it's the right stuff. It's the right stuff, it keeps you up, and I can never get enough. Cause when you see it's always gonna keep you rising. Oh, cause you know it's such a fine thing. Pull it up, when you're rapping in the look, you need to fill it up. Ripping up is so when you're killing, I'm feeling up, but I can make it raw, yeah. Pull it up, first to make the bullet rip. Pull it up, to free your mind, the love all kind. That tries to slide but find between your life and mine. Pull it up, and when the feel it, everybody you want to pull it, yeah. Radio, you know it's never gonna be over. Cause we're gonna kill it like a poly clover. Then we'll put it to a skin and bone. Yeah, we're the radio, you know. Sometimes all you need to do is run and pass to a friend. Cause it's the way it always begins. It's the way it is always gonna end. Yeah. Radio, you know, with the renegade master in the sound. Yeah, kicking around with the man. Scaramouche and Papa style. And all our president, yeah. The president, you know we're gonna kill it. And I come to La Belle for in Paris. Cause you know we're not shy. We are the best thing that you know. But take you so quiet, so die, you back a guy. Cause pull it up, yeah. Packing up the radio, no original Simpty and House.